Oh, boy.
That's the fun part about doing this. But then again, we've been doing this. It'll be 11 years next month.
You know,
thought it
I've
would
been
be
watching
12
this
years.
since the beginning.
Yeah, I remember you would watch when we first started doing
Yeah.
this. Back when we were
Didn't we
EWABs.
start in March 2011?
2011, yeah. So it's
So it'll be 12 years.
Wow.
Wait, my math's not
Well, that's
working
why I was
today.
saying I knew it before
12,
it was
11 years.
VOBS.
It'll be 11 years.
it'll be 11 years. Yes,
Dan's
we
better
started-
on the math today. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Don't ever question me on math.
I will
not-
never.
You know how my math is. Drives Marcy crazy when we're doing a tip. Yeah, just round it up. And I'm like,
I just wanna...
anyway. All right. So here's what I figured we could talk about tonight.
Okay.
I mean, we can talk about you, which is fine because I love hearing about you. Let's see. We'll talk about how you got into voiceover. We can just sort of breeze over that. But the fact that you're doing a lot of different stuff. And I think second question, clearly success in voiceover requires a good business sense. How have you moved your career along using good business practices? And I spelled practices wrong.
Remember to invoice?
Yeah.
Have
That
a good
reminds me, I got to
invoicing
invoice
system.
somebody today. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much
mean,
should
you
you
know.
rely on automation versus manual
Ooh, that's a
stuff?
good one.
Yeah, that's
a good
probably a
topic,
good
right?
question.
That's officially your question.
Okay, that's my
Yeah,
question.
it is a good question.
Because I sometimes obsess over how much to automate stuff and how to make it
Yeah.
self-run, and then when it doesn't work, then you have to fix it, and then
There are certain things that I do automate and there are certain things that I don't. Invoicing is one of those things that I do manually myself. I mean, I do it through
me too.
a software program,
yeah.
but I'm using, oh my God,
Wave apps?
Zoho Books. I'm
Oh,
using
Zoho
Zoho. So I find that it allows me to keep track of how I'm doing every month, how the year is progressing, who owes me money. The one thing I do have automated through there is every 30, 45, and 60 days, it sends out a reminder to the client that I haven't been paid yet. So
Yep.
that's pretty necessary.
Yeah.
Well, QuickBooks will also remind you that. Anytime
Oh, yeah, a lot of them will.
click in
And I
that,
was
it's like,
on,
hey, there's 90 days on this one. And
Yeah. I mean, you can program it however long you want it to go. But yeah, FreshBooks did the same thing, and it was FreshBooks that I switched from. So I just got used to that automation and wanted to make sure it still had it.
Oh, I could kvetch about FreshBooks, but it got a little. I thought it was pricey, and then it wasn't a full accounting package.
It wasn't. Yeah.
And I went to Wave Apps. Have you
Yeah.
used that?
I've heard of it, and I've heard good things. Zoho is actually like accounting compatible. So.
Zoho is pretty heavy duty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And it's pretty, from what I've seen, pretty reasonable. It's like a more affordable, what's that really big company that advertised during the Super Bowl? Salesforce.
Oh, okay.
the one with Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
going.
It could. Zoho has so much stuff in it. I'm
Yeah.
using a version where I pay a certain amount per year to be under Matt Calrick's his account.
Yeah.
So I think we're all the ones that are on his account are paying a little less per year.
Yeah.
But it's less than I was for a year of FreshBooks.
Is
And
that
it, had,
good?
it does, and it's Zoho One, right? So
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Like,
it's way more inclusive.
yeah.
That's the
talk
second time
about
I've
that.
heard his name today.
So he's an
Matt,
affiliate?
really?
Yeah, no, because Rosie and Brian were talking about him this morning. That,
Oh, yeah, because they're
he fixed
switching
their
over to
email.
Zoho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their email apparently got all screwed up, and
Yeah,
he
I don't
was able
use
to fix it.
I don't use Zoho for my email. I just use Google. It's all
Yeah,
Gmail.
me too.
That's what
Me
I
too.
do. Me too. All right, so then we want to get into this audio branding thing, and
Sure.
I need you to define that a little bit better. I'm
I
reading about it.
can exactly define that for you.
I figured you
actually.
could, since you have an entire podcast about it.
Yes. Let me just, because I know that. Okay, there it is. I have an actual definition from the Audio Branding Academy, the International Sound Awards, basically.
Oh.
International. And how does one get nominated for one of those?
Well, you have to be doing something very innovative in sound. And it's done through a company I don't know if We Sound actually does it. It's the Audio Branding Academy, and they're based in Germany.
Oh,
So,
of course. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And they call the award the Isabel.
Isabel.
ISSA, International Sound Awards, right? And then Bell, because that's
Cute.
yeah. So,
Yeah. That's fun.
but yeah, really interesting things. Like there was a hospital in Helsinki that had each floor dedicated to a soundscape of the world. So you'd start underneath the ocean in the bottom floor, and then you'd go to the beach, and then you'd go to a field, and then you'd go to a forest, and then the sky, and then the stars, depending on the level of building. And it's a children's hospital. So
Oh, okay.
so they're doing this to make the kids feel more safe and
Right.
happier and concentrate on other things.
There was that voice conference that we were at Disneyland. Were you at that one? We were at the Disneyland
so.
Resort, and George and I were walking through the gardens there. Remember how the sound would change as you would move from place to place? And we're like,
But it was seamless.
They're
It
very
it was totally
deliberate.
seamless. Yeah.
It was super seamless. It
They are
wasn't like
very deliberate about that. They have
they're geniuses at that stuff.
basically hedges and trees up in
Right.
places so that they can direct the sound depending on when you go from one section to another. And they have these speakers in very precise places.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Say what you will about Disney, they're Imagineers, audio engineers, all those things are just.
Oh, yeah.
just
They know what they're
just
doing.
Next level, man.
Yes.
It's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So audio brand, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
And the audio.
But, just to let you guys know, and I try to explain this to other voice talent too, it's not for us. It's for our clients.
Right.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, yeah. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's concentrating on what's going to make me a better voice actor. It's like
Well,
being
I
good to
mean-
your clients.
Yeah, I mean,
Being a better
definitely
service
focus
provider.
on your craft. Yeah,
Right.
sure. That's fantastic. But your branding doesn't really matter to the client as much as you think it does.
All right. Well, then I'll be very interested to hear the definition of that and how you apply that.
Yeah. But I'm not applying it for me. I'm applying it in the sense that I'm aware that I am a part of that audio brand for a client.
Yeah.
So being aware of that just makes it a lot easier for me to give them what they want.
Yeah.
All right.
What's what's
yeah.
Spectrio? I just googled audio branding. It's literally one of the first hits on Google.
Spectrio?
Yeah.
I have no idea,
Okay.
but I'd like to know.
3 examples of how audio branding and how you audio branding and how you can brand your business.
Oh, there
they
are
do-
lots of companies doing this.
Okay, they do digital signage.
Probably they do it, yeah.
On-hold messaging. Okay.
Oh,
gotcha,
Spectrio,
gotcha.
there I see it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a provider. Now, as a voice actor, would
probably-
you reach out to them as a provider? Would you market to a provider like this directly?
Not necessarily, no, because I think
Yeah.
they're working. I mean, it depends. It depends. What ends up happening is I end up interviewing these people on my podcast.
See, that's why people have podcasts.
Well, I wanted to get to know my clients. I didn't want to interview other voice talent. I wanted to know who was hiring us and what their pain points are and what they like to talk about.
Yep.
So that was kind of why the whole podcast started.
It's inspired.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we want you talking to the board this week at Volvo.
Sure.
Because I mean that's really our mission is to to relate what we do to tell people, look, we're professionals.
Yeah.
We've invested in ourselves. We're not even though paving contractors invest in trucks and stuff, but we don't try to be the lowest bidder or something like that. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
think you see a whole lot of that anymore.
Well, I think if you the reason or the way that I end up doing this is I interview audio branding professionals so that they can let our clients know that their audio is important.
Right.
So it kind of like that, the
Oh,
idea
I
of
understand
that
what you mean. Okay.
is
yeah,
to
yeah.
raise all boats, right? So these
Right.
people are working for our clients, our end clients,
Right.
right? And their job is to make these end clients sound good so that they can make a good impression and actually emotionally reach the people they're trying to reach.
Of course.
Yeah.
It makes
A
total
little
sense.
production note. Do you guys know how to turn off the live transcription in Facebook feature?
No idea.
Let me go into
Yeah,
Facebook.
somebody in
and-
the chat is like, it's
Oh,
right
is
over your
it,
faces, and it's translating everything you're trying to say while you're saying it. And I think you can turn it off. You as the user.
Oh yeah, it's
can
on their
stop
end. Yeah,
viewing it.
Sue's right. I think you can turn it off.
Oh yeah,
like
you click
whoever
on the
is saying that.
you click on the CC
Yeah.
at the bottom, a little CC closed caption, and then click off. And there it goes. Poof, it's gone.
Awesome.
That's how you
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. That was a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
But depending on who's watching, it's right over our faces. It's
Oh,
typing.
okay.
Yeah. No, we
That's
figured
annoying.
that out.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for fixing that.
The CC button.
Yes. Oh, that's in YouTube, isn't it? Or was it on Facebook?
That was Facebook, actually.
YouTube
I
has
don't-
it too.
Yeah. Let's see. If I click CC, but we don't have that turned on.
Oh,
Well,
Sue has a
lucky
good
you.
point. She might want it on. She just doesn't want it on our faces. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if we
you'd
can
have
do
to
anything about
resize
that.
your screen. Or, like on mine, I see it. I see our video window in
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and then in the black letter boxing below it, it shows the text, so it doesn't overlap our faces.
Oh, okay. So
But
it
it
would depend on the size of her
Depends
screen.
on the size of your window.
Okay.
If you resize your window and make it so there's a black bar at the top and the bottom, the text floats to the bottom and is no longer over our faces. So
There you go.
if you're
Tech
on a-
issue solved.
Yeah, if
Tech
you're on a
issue
desktop.
number one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I figured we'll talk about your podcast and,
Sure.
because our main purpose here is just total, utter, shameless promotion.
Well, I hope it's
Plug away.
interesting.
Well,
and that,
I mean, listen, looks like you've been doing every podcast there is. I mean, I want to get on that circuit.
You'll work on this, the circuit.
I do a few of them, and I'm enjoying it a lot, actually. And it's getting me more comfortable with my own elevator speech, if that makes
Good.
any sense.
Oh yeah.
Because, the power of sound is so important, and we all know that.
Right.
But our clients don't necessarily know that.
And there are plenty of clients that, can you fix this?
Well,
hell
and
recorded this?
often we're sort of like we're almost the middleman. Like there's like two people
agree.
before they even talk to us. So anyone in that chain needs to know that the audio is important. And I'm trying to do that with the podcast.
Well, good. All right.
And the
Yes.
Clubhouse too, actually.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're doing that, and George and I figured Clubhouse had just died on the vine, but
I'm still on it every week.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm using
Wednesday.
it for one specific tool.
Yeah, it is
And
a
that's all I'm using
specific
it
tool.
for.
Yeah, it is.
At
But
first,
I
yeah.
find that it's a really interesting tool. And are you guys ready to go? Or
Well, she was just giving us the 1 minute sign.
oh, okay. I was on Mark Scott's podcast, and we talked a lot about Clubhouse. So that was
He was on our show, a month ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm using Clubhouse as a way to have informal, what I call office hours time with my clients. And
that's a great use for it. Yeah.
It's working really well. Twice a
Yeah.
week, 30 minutes, get in, get out. 30 minutes is enough to answer a bunch of questions, but not make it into a really long, it doesn't allow time to really get into deep conversation. It's just there to help people with some quickie things.
Sure.
right.
And it depends on what you're using it for. I have panelists. We have discussions
All right,
on
Sue.
anything.
It's 5 o'clock. Let's
All right.
Light
We'll start
this
the show
candle.
for reals.
Hey, it's time for Voiceover Body Shop, and we got a great show tonight. If you got to understand, voiceover is a business. And we have a great guest tonight. Our good friend Jody Krangle is joining us from the Great White North, which apparently is quite white and very much in the north. And so we're going to talk a little bit about audio branding and good business practices and what it takes to really succeed. Right, Jody? Say hi.
Hello.
Okay. You all set, George? All right,
I'm
you're on
ready
this
to go.
side. Okay. Voiceover Body Shop is coming up right now.
From the outer reaches, they came, bearing the knowledge of what it takes to properly record your voiceover audio. And together, from the center of the VO universe, they bring it to you now. George Whittam, the engineer to the VO stars, a Virginia Tech grad with the skills to build, set up, and maintain the professional VO studios of the biggest names in VO today. And you, Dan Lenard, the voiceover home studio master, a professional voice talent with the knowledge and experience to help you create a professional sounding home VO studio. And each week, they allow you into their world, bringing you talks with the biggest names in the voiceover world today, letting you ask your questions, and giving you the latest information to make the most of your voiceover business. Welcome to Voiceover Body Shop.
Voiceover Body Shop is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, home of Harlan Hogan signature products, Source Elements, remote studio connections for everyone, VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website isn't a pain in the butt, VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training, JMC Demos, when quality matters, and VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for VO success.
And now, live to drive, from their super secret clubhouse and studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are the guys.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Dan Lenard,
And I'm George Whittam.
and this is Voiceover,
Body Shop.
or VOBS.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Coming from the championship city of Los Angeles, where most people are like, the Rams. Yay.
Hey, I think the halftime show was for a target audience.
It certainly
One,
was.
Los Angelinos.
Yes.
And two, millennials.
Yeah.
And that's or Gen X's too. And that
Yeah.
definitely was me. I enjoyed the halftime show. I have to admit.
My
I had the
wife
sound
mentioned,
system cranking.
I couldn't understand the word they were saying.
Oh well, it's
you know.
It was a target audience.
Fascinating to note that, it was, Marcy was like, have you ever noticed that that most of the Super Bowl halftime entertainer are all over 40?
It's interesting. This time, is that in general, or is that just?
I think in general. I mean, think about some of the people in a minute. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're going to talk
Yeah.
about voiceover tonight. We got other things
Yeah.
to talk about. We are looking forward to getting back here in the studio all together pretty soon because I miss being able to look up the nostrils of a lot of prominent voice actors. Make things a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the voiceover business tonight. If you've got a question for our guest or for George and I for Tech Talk a little bit later on, throw it in the chat room. Supposedly Jeff Holman is back there and
He is.
typing everything out
I
and
have
writing
verified
it.
the fact that he is here.
I'm glad to hear that. And so why don't we introduce our guest, as Mishka apparently wants to get into the studio here. Providing voiceovers for TV and radio commercials, corporate and industrial narrations, documentaries and in-show narrations, political ads, and anything else. Jody Krangle has voiced national, international commercial campaigns for companies like Bissell, Kraft, Capri Sun, and Visit Orlando, narrated documentaries, corporate and web explainer videos for Fortune 500 companies, and has been the narration voice for shows on both Slice Network in Canada and HGTV here in the U.S. So if you're ever buying stuff HGTV is like the Discovery Channel. Or something like
HG is Home and Garden, I think.
Home and
right?
Garden, right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where you had all the home improvement shows. Mm-hmm. She also has a new podcast that she's really been making a lot of on audio branding, the hidden gem of marketing. And how do you get all that work? Let's talk to her about it. Let's welcome Jody Krangle. Hey, dear, how you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good. It's good to see you guys.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yes.
I'm great. I'm so glad we can have you on because we've really been trying to concentrate in getting people to understand that voiceover is an entrepreneurial business. This is
Yeah.
not show business. And, where everybody's like, oh, I'm going to be in voiceover, I'm going to get an agent. And they're like, that's not how you do it. The people making the big bucks, they're movie stars. And, you can move up there, but you got to start somewhere. But anyway, your journey into voiceover started doing narration for the blind, and now it seems you do everything. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you drifted into voiceover back in the 90s and how you got where you are today?
Well, I first heard about voiceover in 95, 96 when I was volunteering my time to read, I guess they were magazine articles at the time, onto reel-to-reel tape. It was actually reel-to-reel tape, yeah. And I enjoyed the tech almost as much as I did the voicing. So it was a nice challenge, and I did that for around a year. It percolated a little while because I was actually self-employed doing SEO and internet marketing. SEO, search engine optimization, just for those who are unfamiliar.
like in the late 90s? Or
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh,
Yeah.
You're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dark
I
ages.
was doing that from 95 until 2007 when I started doing full-time voiceover. So, yeah, it's been a while. And yeah, it was a nice progression because I think it helped me understand the business end of things before I even got into the voiceover world. Because I was already self-employed. For me, it was just a focus switch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, now that makes sense. And I think a lot of people, again, don't get that this is a business. You've got to be able to do all these different things in order to get people to hire you.
Yeah,
And it's no one's responsibility except yours.
this is very true. Yes, and you better be responsible about that. At the very least, remember to invoice. You don't get
point.
paid unless you invoice.
That's true. And do it quickly.
Yes.
Because you don't do it 2 months later or
Yeah.
something like that. So clearly success in voiceover requires a good business sense. But how have you moved your career along using good business practices? What are some examples of that? Aside from invoicing immediately and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I think being efficient in my work, one of the ways that I have differentiated myself in what I do is I tend to work on projects that are 5 minutes of finished audio or less. So what that means is that I can very quickly get to a potential client or a client's project really quickly. I can get it done in a half an hour often for them. So, there's a combination of that. It takes coaching in order to be able to get there that quickly, but also you need to not be putting out fires every second of the day. Right? So if you're ahead of the curve and you have your day, if you make sure that the projects that you do are small enough, this is just how I've done it. I'm not saying this is the best for everybody, but for me, if I make sure that those projects are small enough, then it means that I don't have this huge 100-hour e-learning project looming over my shoulder when someone comes to me for a commercial project. And I mean, for me, it made total sense because I really enjoy having many different projects in a day because that to me is more exciting. Lots of people have different things that they enjoy. Lots of people enjoy e-learning. Lots of people love audiobooks. All the power to them. They can have all mine. I give all of that away. But I really love the corporate narration, anthem videos, and the commercial stuff. That's really my bread and butter, and I love doing it.
What does that really involve? I mean, I've done a few of them, but what have you experienced in doing the corporate narrations and the anthem stuff? And
Yeah, I think it depends on what the company is, obviously. Different companies have different feelings. For instance, you're going to sound different with healthcare than you would with finance. But a lot of them have that same kind of approachability, but gravitas, just a little bit of oomph behind the voice. And so that is something that I excel at. That's really where my happy place is. So I do a lot of healthcare. I do a lot of finance. I do some tech. And I can do a lot of the happy retail as well. I do a lot of that. and the luxury stuff, which I really love doing as well. So there's a whole lot of really interesting work in those different genres that I like playing in.
How do you go about getting that kind of work, though? I think most people don't understand. Well, now I'm going to be a voice actor. How do I go out and find that stuff? Because it's generally not agents finding that for you.
No, not usually. And in the beginning, agents aren't really going to help you get where you need to go in order to have regular clients, because they're not going to look at you until they know you can make money, right? I mean, they're interested in, it's a partnership, right? They're interested in making money from you, because otherwise, why be an agent? So if you are going out and getting your own work, and that can mean a whole bunch of different ways these days. I mean, back in the day, and Dan, you will probably remember this, when
Back in the day, yes.
Back in the day, yeah. Voices.com used to be the place to go, right? Voices.com, Voice123, Bidalgo a little slightly more recently than that, but
we built our businesses on those.
exactly, yeah. So when Voices.com used to allow us to contact the client directly, that was a lot easier. Voice123 does allow that to happen. I will say that a lot of my early career started on those platforms, and I made those clients my own clients and brought them off the platforms. That was
Exactly.
yeah. Just by giving them good service. I mean, that's, making sure that it was easy for them to just call me and have it done. Like, no muss, no fuss. It's done. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to call anyone else. I'm the one you need.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say too. It's like, I'm going to make your job easy. You're going to take this audio and you're not going to have to do anything to it. It'll just be, just plug it into whatever it is you're making.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
a PowerPoint
Just
presentation or something.
make it easy for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, our guest is Jody Krangle. We're talking about business practices for voiceover, but we're also going to talk a little bit about audio branding and what that means. So if you've got any questions for Jody, again, throw them in the chat room. Jeff Holman is sitting back there somewhere, and he's going to relay those questions to us a little bit later on in this show. So make sure you're if you got a question. I mean, I think once we start talking about the audio branding thing, that may trigger a few questions in a couple of people's minds. So when we say audio branding, because it's what your podcast is about, and you've been putting out a lot of podcasts and talking on a lot of podcasts. Can you explain a little about what you mean by audio branding?
Sure. I'll give you the definition that the International Sound Awards uses.
Okay.
And they call it a brand sound that represents the identity and values of a brand in a distinctive manner. The audio logo, branded functional sounds, brand music, or the brand voice are characteristic elements of audio branding. So it's a big umbrella of sound that is associated specifically with a company's DNA. And this can mean a whole bunch of different things. It can mean a combo of music, of voice, of sounds, it could be like the sound that your GE kettle makes when it's ready. Like it could be the sound of a luxury car door slamming. Like there's all sorts of different things that this could mean. And it's all part and parcel of who that company is. And it lets people know in seconds exactly who they are. That's how powerful audio branding really is, because it gets that message across emotionally, deeply, and quickly.
So how do you get that across to your potential clients and your existing clients? What do you?
I make a podcast about it.
Well, there you go. Good night, everybody.
Duh.
That's what I do.
See, the point we always talk about, just because you can doesn't mean you should make a podcast unless you
That's
have
true.
something to say.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
in Judy's case, something to learn too.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning at the same time. I mean, the people that I have on the show all are really knowledgeable about the various different parts of this, and there are so many different parts. And when I talk about audio branding, it's not only about brand sounds, it's also about how it heals us. I talk about the power of sound in the podcast. So not only am I talking about the advertising and the marketing, but I'm also talking about how sound affects us in our daily lives. And a lot of that is healing. A lot of that is what music does to our moods. there's how you can influence what you taste by what you hear. It's a really bunch of interesting things. And how important is sound in our lives that, I mean, without it, I say this a few times on some other podcasts, but if you're talking about movies, for instance, in film, if you turn off that sound and you don't listen to the sound, you're going to know what's going on in that movie, but you're not really going to care about it. That's the thing. The sound gives you emotional context. The music, the sound effects, everything that you are hearing is giving you the emotional context of that movie. So you're not going to be moved to tears just by watching something on a screen. You're going to be moved to tears when you hear the music that goes along with that scene and the sound design that goes along with that scene and the spoken words that go along with it. It's so much an emotional landscape that we just unconsciously use in our lives and experience in our lives. And when it's gone, then we realize.
Yeah,
that's true.
I just heard that I just heard that I was watching some random sort of viral YouTube video explainer today, and they mentioned how one of the reasons why airline food tastes relatively bad to the passengers is because of the noise levels on the airplane affects the way you taste the food.
Yeah, it's so true.
That was like, whoa. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought I knew about stuff till I heard
Our
that.
senses all work together. Our brains are weird.
They say if you want it to taste better, put on noise-canceling headphones and you'll have a better tasting meal.
Or listen to certain sounds or
yeah.
certain music. You know, if you're in a French restaurant and you're listening to top 40 music for some strange reason, it makes you think like you're in a hole in the wall kind of like place that doesn't care, right? If you're in a French restaurant and they're playing French music, the type of music that you would hear if you're sitting in a cafe in Paris, that makes you just taste the food better. It just makes everything better. Yeah, exactly.
I'll remember that when I'm sitting in a cafe in Paris this spring.
Enjoy.
Well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We're doing a cruise from Lyon to Paris. In May.
Wow, that'll be fun. Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, once again, we're talking with Jody Krangle, and we're talking about audio branding and good voiceover practices. So I think people need to understand that it's not necessarily our job to do that. Now, you talked about a lot of different things that, what an audio brand sounds like to a particular client. Generally, it's not the voice actor that does that. It's usually a good sound designer. I mean, you watch a movie, we're talking about sound effects and all the things that go into it. Not really our job for the most part. But how, as voice actors, do we affect that? And how do we get that across to our clients as to what it is that they want?
Well, we are
need.
hired usually because we have a certain voice type and we fit that type. And that is what they hear as being the voice of their brand. And we have to understand that we are a part of their audio brand, that once we get into a certain rhythm with them, once we become that voice for them, that it's going to be something that we are very aware of. And that they need to be aware of, because it's important if, God forbid, they want to change their audio brand, then that voice changes as well, or the tone changes.
Right.
But we are a part of that. We're not the audio brand, and it's not necessarily for us to make an audio brand. It's for us to be a part of theirs. So it's more for them to understand that their audio is important and the voice is a part of that.
Yeah, and that's always been an important thing. It's like,
Yeah.
they may change. You might be the voice of a brand for many, many years, and then they write to you and say, "We're going in another direction."
It happens.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
That's,
totally. I understand. And yeah, I get why they would do that. But yeah, it's something that we just need to be aware of as a profession, that we are adding to their audio brand and we are helping to let people know who they are in a very quick amount of time. Right. And that's why we were chosen. So whoever, whatever job you're doing for whatever client you're doing that job for, it's because they decided that your voice fit their brand. And that was a conscious decision.
Absolutely.
Usually it's a conscious decision.
Yeah, I mean,
if
you
not from the
think-
end client,
yeah.
then at least from someone in the chain.
Yeah. So someone in the casting
Yes.
office is like, yeah, that's what we're looking for. And
Yeah.
that's what they do professionally. That's their job to do that. And
Yeah.
not necessarily, our job is to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And, and then do we fit into that particular brand?
Yeah.
Again, if you got a question for Jody, throw it in the chat room right now. Now, you're doing this podcast. Tell us a little bit about how you started that and what kind of stuff is on there and why people should listen.
Well, I started another podcast before it. In the summer of 2019, I was doing something called Jody's Silver Linings, which Bev Standing came up with that name. And it was just some common wisdom stuff because I'm older. And there are some things that I wanted to say. And I did that. And then I was a part of a business mastermind, and they were telling all of us that really we should have a podcast, that this was something you needed to do. And so I jumped in whole hog without even really, stopping to think about what I wanted the end result to be. And the end result was that I started getting people asking me to be a life coach. And that was not what I was hoping. That was really not my plan. So I stopped that podcast in October of 2019. And in November of 2019, I started up audio branding. And it was really from a conversation that I had in this business mastermind. There's a fellow that I was talking with. His name is Vincent Puglisi, and he has a mastermind, a group. They're called it's Total Life Freedom is what it is. So it's really for entrepreneurs and people who are trying to quit their 9-to-5 job and live, a life of time and time freedom, basically. And location freedom as well, which is something that most voiceover people already have, but improving where you are at in that business process was kind of what I was after. And he suggested that I talk about something I was passionate about, and I'm passionate about sound. I've been a singer. I had a songwriting website for years and years. I love everything about voiceover. It's so much fun, and I just enjoy using my voice in a way that affects people. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer to sort of explore where audio goes. And on a more broad spectrum than just the advertising marketing, it's called audio branding, but really I talk about the general power of sound. So I talk about all sorts of different things. And I have Clubhouse discussions on them as well. So it's really become very fulfilling. And it's been it's been over 2 years. And I just hit the 50,000 download mark. So just
How
a
about
couple
that?
of days ago.
It'll take you a while to catch us, but,
Yeah.
we're up to 350,000.
Yeah. You've been going for 11 years, though.
That's
So I have a little ways to go.
Well, it's
Speaking
not-
of where audio goes,
yeah.
this is something that you wouldn't notice possibly, Jody, because you're monitoring us, but not yourself. Mm-hmm. When your phone receives a message and vibrates, that vibration is transmitted through your desktop, through the microphone arm into the microphone,
Oh, nice.
and we hear it
Okay.
quite
Yes.
handsomely.
I will move that.
I didn't hear
Okay.
it, but then again,
My
I'm going
apologies.
down.
I'm listening on these huge biodynamic DT7.
They're like, yeah.
That's
Okay.
me, right?
It still
I'm being
vibrates,
picky.
but it should not be on the table anymore.
Yeah, but
So, yes.
that's one of those things.
At least you're busy.
Before the show, before the show, we were talking about animation. No,
Automation.
Not animation, automation.
Automation. Yeah. Okay.
And how much of what you do in your operations, I get a little obsessed about the operations of a business, having done this for so long myself, running my own business, and when you add people versus software versus tools, what are some things that you rely on being automated and things that you would not dare completely allow to automation and you want to be more involved with manually?
Well, I do not automate my invoicing. So I keep track of that, and I send out my invoice when I submit the audio to the client. So I never wait.
How would you actually
Yeah,
automate invoicing and
I guess I could
voiceover?
have someone else do it for me, maybe.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, technically, I guess I could, but it's
but you
so
want to
easy.
you feel like you want to. That comes from you, from the desk of Jody.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be involved in that, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure that it goes out the minute that I deliver the audio.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't forget, basically.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So it just goes out
Yeah.
immediately. They know it's coming immediately, and and that's the end of that.
what
But
sort of things do you automate then?
I use Gmail for my my email, and I will occasionally snooze things that I don't need in that exact moment because I'm very picky about what is left in my inbox. I'm one of those people who starts to my shoulders start to weigh down when I get too many things in my inbox.
Me too. Yeah, I'm zero inbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why I do the 5 minutes or finished audio or less projects, because then I know I can get them out of my inbox quickly. I mean, it all
Yeah.
feeds into my own neuroses.
Yeah.
Which
But,
we all
yeah,
have. Yeah.
which we all have, exactly. But I know that for myself, I'm very much an introvert, and I need that time to replenish my energy. So if there's too much weighing down on me, I feel like I can't replenish. And it's something that I fight against on a regular basis. So I make sure that I have space in between my jobs, that I have space in between my podcast interviews, either being on a podcast or interviewing someone else. I make sure that I have that little built-in time of peace and quiet, because otherwise I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So that's just me. I mean, lots of people operate in a completely different way. But yeah, automating that snooze button, thinking about it for that 2 seconds that I need to know, when am I going to need to see this?
Yeah.
And then just getting rid of it and knowing that it'll pop up when I need it again.
Do you ever
so-
use the send later button?
You know, I haven't. I'm not. I don't know why, really.
I love
just,
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I use it a lot.
Only you would think of that.
Yeah.
If you're
There's-
sitting up, I mean, if you're sitting up at like 11 o'clock at some weird hour, answering a whole bunch of emails.
Yeah.
Send it in the
Sometimes I
morning,
don't
yeah.
want my clients to think I'm available at 11
That was a
o'clock
good
at night.
point. That is a really good point. Yeah.
And another
Boundaries
way-
are important.
Yeah, another way I'll use it. I'm saying it right here, folks, so you'll
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
If you send an email and I reply, if you send another one, you will not hear a reply from me unless it's really like super time critical. You probably won't hear from me for a few more hours. And it's not because I didn't reply. It's because I replied later. I did a send it later because
That's
I don't
good.
want to create an email conversation. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to mill through your inbox, if you have this one that keeps new read, unread,
Yes.
unread, you're like, no, stop. You got to
Yeah,
stop it.
a little
So that's
frustrating.
what you can snooze later. That's fine too. You can just snooze it and answer it later, and that would
Yeah.
be fine too.
Well,
It's
well,
just
that's what
another
I
way of
do
doing it.
because I don't
Yeah.
even want to deal with it until
Exactly.
right that day.
No, it's the same idea. It's
Yeah.
just a different tool to do this to the same end. Yeah.
But I generally answer my email in like seconds.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, I can't stop myself.
Yeah. It'd be midnight. Oh, okay. Wife's like, where are you writing to at midnight?
Yeah, I'm the
Somebody
same
in
way, Dan.
China.
It's awful. Yeah.
Have you
my
ever
husband does
gotten,
the same thing. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Have you ever heard of a technique? Do you ever go on real vacations, Jody?
Like not take my gear with me?
Yeah.
Or no?
You know,
no
I
email?
have. It's hard. I have done it. There used to be before in the before times. There used to be a music convention that I would go to in Atlanta, and I would take off 2 weeks. So we would be driving, and we'd be driving from Toronto all the way to Athens, Alabama, and then Athens, Alabama to Atlanta, and then back home. So a lot of that is in the car, and I'm not going to be doing work in the car. I probably could, but I
you
really
decided
don't
you
want
need-
to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's 8 hours in the car. I don't know if I want to do that. So when I'm doing that 2-week trip, usually I will be available on certain days during that vacation, but I will not be available at other days. Like my driving days, I just take off and say I am not available. And then when I'm in a hotel and I'm staying there for 5 days, I'm okay with doing auditions or whatever emergency might come up. But, you know, my clients understand that it's for emergency use only.
You'd like to think that.
Well, yeah, most of them do. Most of them do. So, yeah, it varies. Yeah. I
Boundaries.
try.
The boundaries thing is it's a very delicate thing because you really do want your clients to feel like that you value them.
Yeah.
I mean, and you always want to make them feel like their needs are going to be met. But you also know you're one person serving, you know, hundreds of people. And
Well,
so
what I say
it's
in
just
my
this
auto
delicate thing.
reply, yeah, auto reply is a good thing in Gmail as well. And what I say in the auto reply is that I'm available for emergencies, but if I get my vacation, I come back refreshed and do better work for everyone.
Ooh, good point.
So, yeah.
Once again, we're talking with Jody Krangle about audio branding and good business practices for all of you freelance voice actors out there watching VoiceOver Body Shop, because that's what we talk about. Anyway, we're going to take a quick little break right now. Again, if you've got a question for Jody about all the stuff that we're talking about, throw it in the chat room, whether you're in Facebook or on YouTube or wherever it is that you're watching this show live and you get the chance to interact with our guest. Throw it in there right now, and we'll get to those questions in just a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these important messages.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Lenard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
Well, hello there. I bet you weren't expecting to hear some big-voiced announcer guy on your new orientation training for Snapchat, were you?
This is Virgin Radio. Well, okay, we're not that innocent.
There's jeans for wearing and there's jeans for working. Dickies, 'cause I ain't here to look pretty.
She's a champion of progressive values, a leader for California, and a voice for America.
It's smart. It's a phone. It's a smartphone. But it's so much more. The files are ready. Don't forget to pick up the eggs. What time is hockey practice? Check out this song.
It's the end of the road for Rick. It's your knee, Rick. When hope is lost.
The i8 from BMW. Who said saving the planet couldn't be stylish?
Hey, it's J. Michael Collins. Bet you think I'm going to try and sell you a demo now, huh? I think they speak for themselves. But I will give you my email. It's jmichael@jmcvoiceover.com. Now, if Dan will stop waxing his mustache for a minute, we'll get back to the show.
Now, at VoiceOver Essentials, it's the legend reimagined. The MicPort Pro 3.0 brings incredible new features, all in the handheld, self-powered package the MicPort Pro has always been known for. Like a new mic preamp with 65 dB of crystal clear gain, USB-C jacks, and a stunning headphone amplifier with a super convenient gain switch. You've no doubt heard of or recorded with the MicPort Pro. The MicPort Pro breakthrough audio interface connected any studio quality microphone to a micro digital interface. This newest iteration of the legendary USB MicPort Pro turns your phone, tablet, laptop, or desktop into a professional recording studio. Smaller than most microphones, it's feature-rich, easy to use, and travel-friendly. And right now, VoiceOver Essentials is paying the shipping in the continental U.S., and they're including one of their ever-popular VO caps for a limited time. Get it now at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey, it's David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and we talk a lot in this business about moving forward with our career, getting more information. We often don't talk about simply getting started. It can be one of the most immovable objects in our life, getting out of our own way and just simply taking the first step. And if you're watching this podcast, VoiceOver Body Shop, for some tips on how to get started in voiceover, or to change something about your voiceover career, or to increase your knowledge in a certain area, check out VOHeroes.com's Getting Started in Voiceover. If you go to voheroes.com/start, you'll get all the information. It's really cheap. And I give you a lot to get started in the business, but you might also learn something if you've been in the voiceover business for a while. voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start.
Yeah, hi, this is Carlos Alazraki, the voice of
Rocco, and you're watching Voiceover Body Shop.
And we're back with Jody Krangle, and we're talking about audio branding and good voiceover business practices, because Jody, you've been doing this. Yeah, you said you started doing voiceover really in 2007, when the wave of everybody trying to get into voiceover got into it. What do you think?
Isn't there always a wave?
Well,
there's a wave now.
Sort of. Yeah, there you go.
It's a rising tide.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course we believe that a rising tide floats all boats. We want to be able. We want people to be good at what they do, because when they, if they act unprofessional, or they really don't sound professional, or don't use those practices, it makes all of us look bad. It's how many times? Well, I don't want to work with the freelance people. I got to go to the studio. It's like, listen, there are so many good people out in the world that can do this stuff that aren't necessarily in LA or in New York or Houston or Dallas or Chicago or something like that. Or Canada.
Yeah.
We know a lot of very fine talents up in Canada.
I was trying to thumb my booth, but I'm mirrored in my video. So.
I know. Whenever I want to look at Dan, so I have to go. I have to use every ounce of the reverse. I'm like, I know I want to look this way, but I gotta look this way.
I'm always doing the opposite.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you were pointing to your booth there. What do you use?
Yeah,
Miss Techie in your.
We want to know about gear now.
Yeah, yeah.
My gear is really, really simple. I have a Steinberg UR22C. I think that's what it is, and a Sennheiser 416, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have anything in between it, or it all hooks into the computer, and away I go in the booth. Yeah.
What's your software? DAW.
I'm using Adobe Audition, the newest version in the cloud. So it took a while, actually. I just replaced my computer at the end of 2020. And
how long were you using it before that?
Oh, I was still on Windows 7. So it was pretty old.
I am too. I have a Windows 7 in Parallels on my Mac. I've refused to upgrade it.
I really liked Windows 7. I loved it, but it was about a 5-year-old computer. And at that point, it just got slow and unwieldy, and I was using Adobe Audition 3.0.
Oh, yeah.
And
was that hard for you to make that?
Because
I know people that cling on to 3.0 even now. Was it a hard transition?
You know what? It was a lot less difficult than I thought it was going to be, actually. And the first thing that I did was I paid for that 2-hour session with Uncle Roy.
Oh, yeah.
Because oh my God, all of the shortcuts and all of the little stuff that he told me, oh my God, life-saving. So if you are at all not sure about your Adobe Audition, by all means, talk to Roy Yelkelson, and he will set you straight.
Yep.
Yeah, Roy's one of those guys that, he's an audio designer. It's what he does.
Yeah,
and
he's really good at it.
Yeah. See, as voice actors, we generally don't have to do a whole lot. Adobe Audition, of course, has lots of features and lots of things that that you can automate and things like that. But if you got a few hotkeys, and you can roll through it really, really quick.
Yeah, it just takes 2 seconds, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're keeping it simple.
Yeah.
George and I are always, preaching about that. And the fact of the matter is people keep hiring you, and you're not using all this other outboard gear and things like that because it's not meant for voiceover.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I give my project audio over to someone, generally they're going to be working with it on their end. They don't need me to be working with it.
Right.
As long as I give them clean audio, they're fine. And they prefer it that way. They don't want me to ruin in post, before they even get their hands on it. So I do very minimal stuff, even for my auditions these days, actually. So, yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Do you use paper or a screen to read?
I use a screen generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside the booth, I have a screen that's around 22 inches, I guess, something like that.
Okay, open up your booth. Let's see what goes on in there.
Yeah, well, I'd have to turn on the light, but you can
No,
sort of
we can see in there, yeah.
Yeah, you can sort of see.
So do you read off of a mirrored screen? Is it an exact mirror of what's on your desktop?
It's mirrored what's out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have a USB hub in there that's sort of from this computer.
Yeah.
And the monitor is right up against this wall.
Okay.
In the corner there. Mm-hmm. And I'm using a knee chair. You can sort of see the chair.
Oh,
there.
the kneeling chair, right?
Yeah.
Those have came and go. I mean, they seem to have come and gone, essentially.
I've been using one for years.
Those that love them will always love them, right?
I just find it easier. I find it easier. It keeps me stable over a long period of time, and most of what I do sitting. So, yeah. I mean, that wouldn't work for someone in animation, maybe, or video games.
Yeah,
but that's not something I do, so I don't worry about it.
Yeah. Once again, we're talking with Jody Krangle. If you got a question, we got a few questions coming in here. Throw it in the chat room because we want to hear from you. We like knowing you're out there. George, what's the first question we got here from Jim McNicholas?
Jim asked, and he's on YouTube. He says, back in the day, those sites were great. Where would you find them today? He's referring to the sites that you were mentioning.
You voiced on 2-3.
Yeah, voices.
Where do you find them today? I also like the 5-minute jobs too. I do a few a day, but would love to be doing more.
Yeah, it depends on what your personality wants you to do. So a lot of people like reaching out. They like looking on LinkedIn and finding people who are creative directors or at ad agencies or video production companies or the like, and reaching out to them directly. People do that with e-learning all the time as well. The LinkedIn Edge, I believe, is Tracy Lindley's course. Oh, yeah. Well worth paying for, just to let you know. LinkedIn is a great place to find a lot of these people. And what I say about LinkedIn is it's not a way to reach out immediately. It's a way to stalk people a little bit, just like in a polite way. So what you do is you follow someone without connecting with them necessarily. You watch what they post, you comment on what they post, because when you comment, you lift up their algorithm and you help them. And you sort of get on their radar by being involved in what they're doing. And then eventually they get used to you, they respond to your comments, you have a discussion, and then it's a warm lead instead of a cold, hi, I'm trying to sell you something thing, which can get very annoying. And I'm sure a lot of these people get it all the time. So I end up finding a lot of my guests for the podcast that way, actually, because there are a lot of audio branding professionals on LinkedIn who are all talking in the same vein about the same stuff. And so when I comment on one of their posts, I end up reaching a whole bunch of other people who are also discussing this and want to discuss more. So yeah, it's just a great way to reach out to people. So yeah, I would highly recommend LinkedIn. And you can do the research on LinkedIn and then reach out to them through their own website if you wanted to. But again, I would say follow them on LinkedIn, find out more about them before you do that, just because it becomes a little more of a warm lead than a cold one. I know people do reach out on the phone, but these days you never know who's actually going to be in their office. So, I don't know how well that'll work. But some people swear by it. So it really depends. Mark Scott has some great tips on reaching out and direct marketing. So I highly recommend anything from him.
Yeah, go back and watch the episode he was on.
Yeah,
a while ago.
I'm sure he had a lot to say about that. Yeah,
he was
Tom
great.
Deere is another person who knows a lot about this kind of stuff. So yeah, you could also reach out to him. But yeah, there are many different ways to do it. But I would say if you can prevent yourself from just reaching out and saying, hi, I'm a voice actor, hire me. I think you should do that because there are other ways to do it and other ways that I think will put you in better stead with the people you're reaching out to.
Excellent. Question from Andrea Entz. It says, what was your first voiceover job? How did you get it? And what did you learn from it?
Oh, my goodness. My very first job was actually a documentary, believe it or not.
Wow.
It was a documentary on World War II, and it was a kind of a photo collage of this fellow who was producing it. His father was stationed in Saipan during the Second World War, and he was taking Kodachrome film, photographs that were in color at the time. And the island of Saipan was honoring his father they were going over to Saipan to actually give over the photographs or copies of them for their, like a museum over there. And there was a photograph that his father caught that was of a plane on the end of a dock and someone out in front of it. And they think that it might have been, and I mean, it might have been disproven by now, but they thought it might have been Amelia Earhart's Navigator. So they were sort of like, it was an really interesting documentary. And I mean, I don't know where it is now. I mean, this was like 15 years ago, right? So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. And
you also learned that you like 5-minute jobs.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I didn't mind that one because it wasn't overly long. It wasn't hugely long, but you learn these as you go along. Yeah. In that one, I actually had a song that I had done for like a collaboration with a friend of mine in the UK, and we'd done a version of "I'll Be Seeing You," and so that actually ended up playing at the end credits of that documentary. So they ended up using that song for the end credits. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, it totally got me hooked.
Yeah. If you don't know, Jody's also a very fine singer. I mean, professionally, you sing. I've heard you sing. It's absolutely great.
Thank you.
George?
Grace Newton asks, and I know you covered this a bit, but you could expound maybe a little bit. Do you have a favorite or go-to way to market your business, and what has worked best and what wasn't so fruitful? And maybe pick one more special thought, because we talked about that quite a bit.
I sent out packages at one point for National Chocolate Cake Day. And I had, this was before I changed my branding.
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah,
so I had pens and I had notebooks and I had a recipe and all of this stuff. And I sent it out and heard absolutely nothing back. So a lot of money spent and absolutely no results as far as I know.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. And I think I know why. I don't think that there was enough personalization in it because I didn't actually get to sign it because it was being sent from the US and most of my clients are in the US. So I was sending it to a lot of my clients and I don't think it really hit them as being very personal. And I think that might have been the problem. I think if we keep it personal and real, that when you reach out to people, that they'll be much more likely to respond.
Like it was a little too gimmicky in hindsight?
I don't know gimmicky necessarily, but the card included had like a simulated signature. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't actually have because it was manufactured elsewhere and I couldn't sign it. So
right.
So lesson learned, right? Personal is better.
Yeah. So do your homework before you send stuff out by yourself and make sure you know who you're writing to.
I mean, I did do my homework. It was through someone else. Like it wasn't just me, but at the same time, I think it just needed that one personal touch. And I think it would, like, if it had looked like it actually came from me, I think it would have made more of an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been using an email service to send important emails from Brad Newman's upper level CRM. And when you send those emails, they do come from you.
Yeah. And they look like they come
opened.
from you.
And they do get opened.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brad's amazing too. Yeah.
Yeah,
His service is
totally.
fantastic. So, yeah.
Yeah. We have a question here, apparently from somebody who's anonymous, is what was the Audio Innovators Award you mentioned before the show? We were talking about.
Oh, that was me.
Oh,
that
it was
me
you.
that wrote
You
that,
wrote
sorry.
this question.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You mentioned something about audio. Yeah, what was
the Audio Innovators Award?
Yeah. The International Sound Awards
Oh, yeah.
are put out by the Audio Branding Academy in Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's just totally off
and-
my radar. That's why I was like really curious about it.
Yeah. The fellow who was on my podcast, his name is Cornelius Ringe. It's Ringe. He has a audio branding company called WeSound, and they're in Berlin and Hamburg. And he and his music director, I believe, I think that's what Lars does, Lars Ohlendorf, they were on my podcast together, and he talked all about it. And yeah, it was really enlightening.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So what's the name of the podcast again, so people can actually go hear that one?
Sure. It's called Audio Branding.
And there it is right there.
Yeah. Yep.
audiobrandingpodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
You get the question from J. Horace Black there, George.
Yeah, he's asking, well, he says you have lovely presence and energy.
I would agree with that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. There was a few comments about your voice and your demeanor in the chat. Did
Always
you
nice.
find yourself testing out many other microphones before going with the 416?
Yeah, well, I was using, oh my goodness, can I remember what this is? I started with an NT1A when I first started in the business, and I found that it was just too cold for my voice. I didn't like how I sounded on it. I used it for a number of years, but it was okay. It just wasn't really,
I think it's
giving me
okay
the-
on a lot of people. It's
Yeah.
okay on a lot of people, and sometimes it's great, and most of the time it's just okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a TLM 103 in there as well that I use for singing if I need that. So that works well too. And of course the U87 is brilliant, but I don't live in a pristine environment, even though I have the booth. So a U87 is way overkill. And I live in a townhouse complex, so I can get rid of most everything when I go into that booth. It's fine, but it's not soundproofed. It's sound treated. So I can't get rid of everything. And the 416 really helps with that, first of all, because it's very directional. But also I find that with the deeper voices, it really adds a little bit of presence. And I like that. I like that little bit of oomph that it gives my voice on a production. So
Yeah. Do you find yourself having trouble feeling comfortable singing in a very small, dead booth?
actually, no.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I mean, I've done the on stage performances as well.
Yeah.
But and that's a completely different environment and a completely different reason for singing, really.
Yeah.
When you're doing studio stuff, I really enjoy it actually because it's very detail oriented. You know, you can go back. You know, you don't have to record it all in one sequential thing. You can go back and redo little parts if you want, as long as you know how to edit.
Do you monitor yourself in a totally flat, dry sound in your headphones while you're singing? Do you not
I actually
monitor?
don't
What
use
do you do?
headphones while I'm
Yeah.
singing. Usually,
girl.
if okay, when I'm doing
gotta
my
listen,
work,
yeah.
when I'm doing my work, I do not use headphones. When I am singing and I need to hear a backing track, I do use headphones.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. So yeah, I guess it depends on how far up you turn the volume. I want to turn it up enough that I can hear the nuances of my voice, but I don't want to turn it too far down that I have to be screaming.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a
monitoring is,
delicate nuance there. It's like a really delicate balance.
it's either right or don't do it. Like
Yeah.
take them off, because if it's not quite right, it's going to drive you nuts.
Well, I need
But-
them if I'm listening to a backing track, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah,
And-
so I
and
have to. I
you're-
just have to make sure I'm very conscious of how loud my earphones are.
Well, you're one reason that UR22 is good, and why I'm very picky about what interfaces I recommend is that I want them to have a monitor mix, and that knob has that unit has that knob that lets you mix your monitoring. So you can control exactly how loud you sound to the music or whatever you're listening to.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's an important feature that really helps.
I can mix in Adobe Audition too. Like I can make a mix when I'm hearing my volume of audio and the music.
Yeah.
So if I'm multi-tracking in Adobe Audition, I can just mix it however I want it. So
of course. Yeah.
Either or.
Excellent. Well, Jody, it's been way too long since we've seen each other. And, is there's one thing I miss about going to conventions? No hugs.
Yeah,
we
I've missed that
miss
a
being
lot.
together, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can get together. But we really want to thank you for coming on and talking with us tonight about stuff that perhaps people didn't really think about. So
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, once again, what's the podcast again?
Audio branding. It's at audiobrandingpodcast.com. I have clubhouse rooms that talk about the power of sound, 2 p.m. Eastern Wednesdays. So it's a club called The Power of Sound. If you look for it, you'll find it. There's a whole bunch of stuff scheduled in there. And actually, on 2 p.m. on Thursdays, I have a room with Cheryl Halling and Ann Ganguza. And we talk about voices in podcasting. So basically the mix of those two things and one or the other. It's called VIP. And that's also under the club, The Power of Sound.
Very good.
I'm going to sign up right now.
Yeah.
Let's do The Power of Sound.
Like you don't
I
have
hope
anything
to
else to
hear
do,
you
George.
there.
Jody, thanks again so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
All righty. All right. Well,
Thanks.
we're gonna take a quick break here, and then we're gonna re-rack it for Tech Talk. Make sure you're around for that, and if you got questions, make sure you get them in there. But we'll be right back to wrap this hour up right after this.
You're still watching VOBS?
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
Hey, everybody. It's time to talk about Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect, and lots of other really innovative tools for collaborating between different locations, different studios, bringing talent into the studio virtually, and having communication with the client also remotely and virtually, which is another big part of it. You know, it's not just about you as the performer. It's also, how do we bring the clients in to hear that performance? And not just you, the whole mix, the orchestra, whatever's in that mix for that spot you're working on, for the client to sign off on it and spend the top dollar they're spending for you, your talent, the engineers, the production, the music, the composing, the writing, the direction. There's a lot that goes into it. They want to have an instant approval and hear exactly what it is that the final production will sound like. So that's another part of it. They're listening in on a web browser and hearing you through Source Live. It's just an incredible array of tools, and it's just the reason they continue to be a very well-regarded tool in production for voiceover and really in anything audio. But you know, the one you're going to look for as talent is going to be Source Connect Standard. If you hear somebody saying you need the pro version of Source Connect, there is a Source Connect Pro, but you're looking for as a talent Source Connect Standard, and that's going to give you the tool you need to connect with the big budget jobs, and you're going to see it asked for by name, and that's what they're asking for. Sign up for a free trial. Go to source-elements.com and get up and running with it so you're ready to go when that opportunity strikes. Thanks, Source Elements. Let's get back and wrap it up.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on the Voiceover Body Shop.
Bye, Jody.
Yeah, it was great having her on. I haven't talked to Jody in a long time, and she is a master at what she does.
She's sharp.
Yep. Very, very successful business lady and voice talent. So next week on this very show, if you tune in, if you like watching our show, it'll be Tech Talk number 73. So make sure that you tune in for that, and that'll be next Sunday morning. I'll get that out to you. But if you want to watch live, if you want to interact with George and I, stick around. We're going to re-record that right after this, so we would love to have your questions for that. Who are our donors of the week?
And if you, by the way, I don't know if we've mentioned it for a while, but if you want to watch live, we are live at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Every other Monday.
Every other Monday. So tune in to the website. Go to VOBS.tv. Look and see when we're taping our next show, and jump in and join us, because
absolutely,
it's we really have fun having your questions here live with us. Donors, we've got them: Philip Sapir,
Thomas Pinto,
Shelley Avellino,
George Whittam, your dad,
the senior one, Brian Page,
Patty Gibbons,
Rob Rader,
Greg Thomas,
A Doctor Voice,
Antland Productions,
Shauna Pennington Baird,
Martha Kahn,
Don Griffith,
and Trey Mosley. All righty. We need to thank our sponsors, of course. Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials,
Voiceover Extra,
Source Elements,
VOHeroes.com,
VoiceActorWebsites.com, and JMC Demos. Thanks to Jeff Holman in the chat room tonight, getting all those questions to us. Also, our amazing Sue Merlino, our technical director, who gets it done every week. And, of course, thanks to Jody Krenkel for joining us again. And most definitely, Lee Pinney for just being Lee Pinney. That's going to do it for VoiceOver Body Shop this week. Stay tuned live for Tech Talk. It's coming up. We want your questions. We got lots to talk about, so stay tuned for that. I'm Dan Lenard.
I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop,
or VOBS. See ya. Have a good week. All righty. All right, boys and girls, time for Tech Talk. We're going to rack that up, make sure everything is all set for that. If you got questions for us about your home voiceover studio, that's what George and I do. So we're going to get rolling on that, and we look forward to your questions, and I look forward to whatever George has coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Sue, how's our blend? During the show, I kind of monkeyed
a little
with
bit of echo in there.
Is it echoey? Do you hear yourself echoing back to you from me?
No. Yeah, I am hearing you.
Oh, you mean the room is echoey?
I'm hearing me in your headphones or somebody's headphones.
Let me just turn my headphones down a little bit.
Does that help?
Hot.
That helps. Yeah. No, it's still in there somewhere.
How about that?
Let's see here. Yeah, now it's gone.
All right, I just turned it down. The return from you, I turned it down quite a lot.
Okay. Cool. All right, let's roll it. You ready there, Sue?
All right, here we go.
Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk number 73. 73.
I always think of ham radio because I remember my dad saying 73s when he was signing off from a conversation.
That was his set. That was his,
no. That's the ham. I'm amateur radio speak for. See you later.
Oh,
73s.
Like 10-4 or see you on the flip side.
Yeah.
All righty. We got lots of cool stuff to talk about tonight. You've got George. You're always looking at all this stuff and then reporting it back to us. You report the stuff of the week in tech. We're going to get to that. Again, if you've got questions, throw them in the chat room right now. If you got a problem with your home studio or a question about equipment or just general stuff about what makes your audio good, we'll be happy to answer
There might
that.
be some ranting.
Oh,
tonight.
and yes, this is going to be an official rant episode, so
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. It's Voiceover Body Shop Tech Talk coming up right now.
From the outer reaches, they came, bearing the knowledge of what it takes to properly record your voiceover audio. And together, from the center of the VO universe, they bring it to you now. George Whittam, the engineer to the VO stars, a Virginia Tech grad with the skills to build, set up, and maintain the professional VO studios of the biggest names in VO today. And you, Dan Lenard, the voiceover home studio master, a professional voice talent with the knowledge and experience to help you create a professional sounding home VO studio. And each week, they allow you into their world, making the complex simple, debunking the myths of what it takes to create great sounding audio, answering your questions, showing you the latest and greatest in VO tech, and having a dandy time doing it. Welcome to Voiceover Body Shop Tech Talk.
VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, home of Harlan Hogan signature products. Source Elements, remote studio connections for everyone. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website isn't a pain in the butt. VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. J. Michael Collins Demos, when quality matters. And VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for VO success.
And now, live to drive from their super secret clubhouse and studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are the guys.
Well, hello there. By the way, I'm Dan Lenard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voiceover
Body Shop.
or VO
BS.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Thank you, Jeff. All righty. Well, of course, you keep seeing that picture of the Hollywood sign. Supposedly they've, after the Super Bowl, they made it something about, congratulations, Rams or something. I don't know how they did that. But
do you have to put on special glasses to see it?
Maybe that's what it is. Of course, I remember when they legalized pot in California and someone changed Hollywood to Hollyweed.
That was amazing. That was quite impressive.
How they got to do that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here to talk about your home voiceover studio because that's what allows us to be professional voice actors at home. And we want to be able to sound as good as we can. But how do you do that? It's amazing how often people say, I want to get started in voiceover and I don't know how to do it. People are so intimidated by the technology. And if you take the time and speak to someone who actually knows how simple it is, like, say, George or I, which is why, by the way, we do this program in the first place, it's a great opportunity to learn it right. And that's what George and I do. But we probably don't think about it that much, but we're teachers. We are instructors. We tell you what the best equipment to get is for you, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more later on. But we will show you how easy it is, and it's always a relief at the end of our sessions with people who are just starting out, and they all go, oh, that's what that is. Look, we've been doing this a long time. We know how to do it, and we know how to get you up and running very, very quickly. That's what George and I do. We are professional home studio consultants. George works with all the big talent in town. I get to work with a few of the big talent every now and again, but we know how it's done. And if you want to work with us and you want to learn how to do it right, you can contact us. For example, if you want to talk to Mr. Whittam, you go to
GeorgeThe.tech.
No, it's over here.
Is it over here? Okay.
It's over there. Yeah.
See how it's every time I go a little wrong way. GeorgeThe.tech is my home on the web for booking time with me and my support team. Tim Friedlander as well is available. If I'm not, he can take over and take on bookings. Dan is available on our hotline for tech support. If you have an emergency, we actually have a hotline phone number we're trying to find many different ways to support you, whether it's just need a sound check, have a tech emergency, or need to design a studio. We're just trying to serve you that way, and the best way we possibly can. And that's where we are, GeorgeThe.tech. And Dan has his brand of support over on his little place on the web, and that's down there.
HomeVoiceOverStudio.com.
Yes.
Which is going to have a whole new look very shortly.
You're beating me to it, but I'm going to have one by the end of this year. Mark my words.
Yes. We've moved the specimen collection cup to the top. So when you get to my website and you want to submit some audio to me, you just click on that. It's a Dropbox. Follow the instructions carefully. A lot of people are like, yeah, listen to my audio. And, and they've done all sorts of processing and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I want it raw. I want to hear the raw sound of your studio. And, without any processing. What is it? What are the acoustics like? How are you using your microphone? Do I hear sibilants or do I hear pops, plosives? And are your levels right? It's amazing. Nobody understands levels. Even though we try to tell them that every week, levels are actually pretty simple when you break it down. But if you go over to HomeVoiceOverStudio.com, $25, I will analyze your audio. If I think you got some major problems, we can talk about it. But generally, it's like, raise your up input a little bit. Or are you under a shelf? I get that one a lot. But we will get you where you need to be. So if you're not getting voice work, it won't be because of your audio. I guess that's the simplest way to put it. Anyway, here on VoiceOver Body Shop, we like to talk tech, and we always start it off with George's weekly or bi-monthly tech update. What's going on out there on the internet stuff with all sorts of gear?
Well, I'll save the rants for later, but starting off with
we'll get into it. Yeah,
some new tech and some interesting stuff I've come across in the last couple of weeks. Conversation comes up often with us that use the Macs because, yes, they are cute, they are tiny and cuddly and very sexy and quiet and all amazing pixie dust sprinkled little machines, except they're very low on ports, really low on ports, especially the MacBook Air. But even the Mac Mini has, the new one is coming this year, and we understand it's going to have more ports. But in the meantime, if you have a Mac Mini of any of the current generation, the M1 Mac Minis, which Dan and I both have, great computer, very powerful, very low on ports. And this product from OWC, Otherworld Computing, aka also known as MacSales.com, is called the Mini Stack STX. Jim Edgar mentioned it in one of the Facebook groups, and here's the pros and the cons. The quickie. Pros, it has 4 ports on the back. One would be plugged into your Mac, and the other 3 are available to plug into other stuff. And those are USB 4 and Thunderbolt 4 ports. They do both, and so they're extremely, extremely fast. So anything you plug into those ports are going to give you the same exact speed as though you were plugged into the computer. So that's great. But its other little magic trick is that inside the unit, and it's about the shape, it's designed to be the shape of a Mac Mini, just sitting underneath of one. Inside, it stores 2 different drives that you can add in or you can buy with it pre-installed. It'll hold a 2.5-inch drive, which is like your typical laptop-sized drive, and that can be a hard drive or solid state. And it can hold and I can never remember the name of this thing, it can hold an NVMe PCIe storage device. And those are the ones that look really more like a memory card, like a RAM chip. And that's actually the kind of storage that's inside of your modern Mac or PC computers. And they are extremely, extremely fast in terms of how they read and write. So you basically, inside this little box, you can have an extremely high performance drive for video and audio production, whatever level that you do. And then you can have a secondary drive, which is just really where your media will live after you're finished, where you export everything, all your documents, things like that. This is definitely a power user kind of project or product. It's probably more hardcore than maybe most audiobook people or narrators might need, but it is a pretty impressive thing. But there's a catch, and it does have a fan. And I guess in order to have the ventilation to keep those drives inside there cool, it does actually have a fan. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't used it. I did read the reviews. One person in the reviews mentioned the fan was a little distracting, which I'm a little concerned about. So if you're like me and you have your Mac Mini right in front of you, like I do, this may not be a great solution. OWC does have a ton of other Thunderbolt docks that are fanless. I have their original Thunderbolt 3 dock here, and it's completely fanless. So just so you know, there's other products out there that will soup up your Mac Mini, hopefully reducing your number of outboard docks and hubs to a minimum. I haven't seemed to be able to get away without having an external Thunderbolt dock and as well as at least a 4-port hub, USB hub, to give me enough ports to do everything. At least in my setup, where I've got a little bit more going on maybe than average. Another little thing is I'm always looking for cool gadgets that will make your daily life easier, especially if you do a lot of live directed sessions or Zoom rooms or anything where it's live and you want to have a really good way to control your mic. And Whirlwind makes the Mic Mute PPD, and it's a box that looks like this. Right? I have it plugged in right now, so I can't hold it upright. The cords are short. This is the Mic Mute PPD by Whirlwind, but it's not, because it's been modified. This one would belong to a client, and they had it long enough that the original toggle switch, click, click, just a normal toggle, it failed. It actually eventually failed. So I thought, it'd be fun to modify one of these and make it do one more thing than it normally does. So my awesome dad, I sent it to him. He replaced the switch with a foot switch he happened to have laying around. So yeah, you can just push it. It works. But when you turn it back on, it makes a little bit of a loud click, right? You can hear the sound it makes, right?
Just use it under your foot. And then
yeah,
it won't
it's
be
a foot switch you can put on the floor. But here's the bonus. It has contact closures, aka fancy for just a switch. So it'll switch anything that you plug through it. Now, my dad said the switch is rated to 2 amps, so you don't want to switch really powerful things. But if you wanted to just make a simple 12-volt LED sign, some kind of light bulb or something that you want to trigger outside the studio, you could just easily hook that up with just a normal power supply, splice the wire into this thing, and boom, you can have a light turn on and off at the press of a foot switch every time your mic comes on and off.
Cool.
I can't believe I had to have my dad make this. I'm kind of shocked it doesn't exist in the real world, but it's such a simple thing, and hey, it works. But Dad, I promise I will actually hook something up to it. Soon. I haven't gotten a chance to plug an actual sign into it. Another couple little things. Graham Spicer recently told me, very recently, like yesterday, mentioned in an email about Hindenburg Narrator Studio. Dan, have you heard of Hindenburg, the audio software?
People use it for podcasting. It was originally designed for podcasting. So
for reporter. I think it was like for reporters and doing field reporting, then podcasting. Well, they've branched into narrator production, like literally audiobook production. And they have an edition now designed completely around audiobook production. And it automates like a lot of stuff. We were talking last time about to Jody about what do you dare automate. This thing takes it to another level. I've only just heard about it. I'm curious about its, when you're leaving so much of the processing and the post and everything completely up to software to make decisions, I get nervous as an engineer. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but if it does what it says on the tin, as they say in England, if it really does, it could be a massive time saver for audiobook narrators. And you guys know that do your own audiobook production, you're not getting paid by the hour to engineer. So again, jury's still out. I haven't demoed it, but based on what I've read, it's quite an impressive tool set for what it is. Hindenburg has a lot of flavors, right? They're not just one app. They have a lot of different versions. So check out this is called Narrator Studio from Hindenburg. Give that a look. Now, Dan, you got the mic I was kind of gushing about a couple weeks ago, the Rode Video Mic Go 2. I know we weren't able to do a really good demo of it, so at some point maybe you can get some audio.
I'm actually talking.
Oh, it's on
right
now.
It is on now.
All right.
You know,
Well, what
it may
what
not
are
work
your
on the way.
impressions?
Well, what are my impressions? Well, it sounds fine. It's actually got a little light on it, sort of like the halo meter on a Focusrite, so you can tell if you're overmodulating. It's designed to be attached to a camera or an iPhone, and the problem with it is now, as you can hear, it sounds fine.
It sounds like it's got compression. Does it have a compressor?
It might, but
in that little app that it has.
There's a little app, but I don't necessarily think that there's anything compressing about it.
Oh, interesting. It sounds compressed. That's wild.
But if I back off, this is really what it's going to sound like when you're talking on a camera.
It sounds really good from like 6-8 inches away.
Yeah, which is really what it's designed for. So it's sort of like a 416, only it's not $1,000.
It's this big. It's only that long.
It's not very big at all, and it comes with a clown nose too. So, but could it be used as a voiceover mic? I don't know. It sounds exactly the same as this one, sort of. But it's there. It works, but it doesn't come with the right adapter to work with an iPhone, because it's not the USB-C that comes out of it goes into an iPhone Lightning connector, but it's not a Lightning charging cable. It's a Lightning accessory cable. It's wired just a little bit differently. So to use it with your iPhone, there's another $20-$30 that you got to spend. Yeah, one of those guys. So that's and it can be powered by USB-C or by a TRS cable, like one of these guys.
Yeah, it's a 2-for-1. You get the video mic feature of the TRS cable that plugs into your camera, and you get the USB feature to plug into a laptop, PC, or phone. It's like 2-for-1.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. I know it's got software that controls it, that you actually set the gain with. It may even have an auto gain mode that I'm not aware of. It sounds like maybe it's in auto gain mode. I'm not sure. It has the sound of like. It sounds like it's compressing a little bit, but it sounds clear. I mean, the audio quality coming off is pretty good. I'm curious to hear it in some spots. Maybe do one of your spots coming up on that mic.
I'll try that.
Yeah.
Now I was able to switch back.
Yay!
Don't ask me. I'm glad that happened. That would have been some major editing.
Yeah. So the Rode Video Mic Go 2, Dan's got one. If you want to know more about it, and just keep in mind, if you're buying it for the purpose of being like a USB mic that you throw in your car, your bag, or whatever, you're going to have to buy some more cables to actually use it that way as a USB mic.
Right.
And that leads me to ranting about more things.
Let's have some quick rants here.
It's quickie. Well, yeah, we'll keep it moving. First of all, a client of mine, unfortunately, wasn't a client before she made this decision. She bought an Apogee Symphony desktop. And Apogee, I don't know what it is, you guys. Your gear is second to none in terms of quality of hardware build, AD conversion, preamps are great. Software's good. It's getting better all the time. But firmware and drivers and stability is just another thing. And the hoops she had to jump through just to get it functioning so we could work together and just get it set up was pretty painful for her. The support she received was clearly, it was clearly targeted to engineers. And again, she was recommended this gear by none other than salespeople at Banjo Emporium. Not by me and not by anybody in VoiceOver. And by the time she realized she had been recommended the wrong thing, it was no longer in the return policy time period. So she was essentially stuck with it. So I shouldn't bash something that has a function that producers and musicians would find useful. But for what that thing costs, they should have rolled out the red carpet in terms of support. She waited a long time to hear from them, and it was just a very painful process. So I'm still, the only Apogee thing I'm really behind right now, and even then I'm kind of meh, is the Apogee mic. Otherwise, I just won't recommend Apogee hardware. It's just too finicky and too complex for what it is. Another thing that's kind of let me down, well, not really me, but one of my clients, as I hate to say it, the PreSonus Revelator IO24. I'm using it here and it's still working well for me. I recommended it to somebody. He bought it as a replacement for his Universal Audio Apollo Solo. So he started with something really good, but really complicated. And he went to this, and the sound quality was a decided drop in quality. Like, you guys know, we have compared many USB interfaces, even including the Apollo, and found all of them to be shades of mauve different from each other, like barely noticeable, some of them more so, but very small, subtle list different. This was like, whoa, something's not right. This thing sounded bad. And PreSonus, they didn't really, we sent them the audio samples. We said, here's one with the solo, here's one with yours. And they kind of denied that anything was really wrong. They're like, no, we think it's fine. So, I mean, fortunately, my client was able to return it to the retailer and get it. And I believe he actually is, even after that, getting another one. Because honestly, that's the problem, there's nothing else that does exactly what it does in the way it does it. But buyer beware, buying a very affordable gear that does a lot of stuff, something might give, and that could be quality control. So just saying, beware. I'm frustrated, but this is the way it goes. And that also goes for microphones and Rode.
Of all people.
Rode of all companies. I love their products. Again, another innovative company that makes really cool stuff, really great prices. Right in Australia, I've been using their Rode NTG5 for over a year, and mine has started showing some signs of problems. And what that is it can sometimes start to clip and distort well before you're actually reaching the clipping point in your preamp. It's hard to describe what it sounds like, but you're just like talking into it and it's going, it's like, why is it crunchy? So that started happening with my Rode NTG5. Now, I wouldn't have thought much of it, but a year ago when these things came out, or maybe a little bit before, I had recommended it to quite a few people because I was really amazed by it. And more than one, probably 3 that I'd heard of personally, had the same exact problem. So what does that mean? I don't know if it's a design thing or I don't know if it was a batch thing. It may have been a batch of these that were made that had that issue, but it's frustrating. It's disappointing. They are going to make it right. And I know, in fact, that Rode is going to, there's just no questions asked. They're going to replace it. And so I have to give them huge props for their support and wanting to make it right. Now, full disclosure, that could be the relationship I have with Rode. I've demoed their gear. I've had them send me gear. My podcast, the Pro Audio Suite, is supported by Rode. So they might be giving me extra special treatment. I don't know. But then nonetheless, they are sending me another one, which I'll be swapping out. In the meantime, I'm using the NTG4, which is a good backup mic. It just needs about 10 to 12 dB more gain to get a good signal out of it. It's interesting that it's not nearly as sensitive. And I use a little more processing on it to get the sound that I was kind of accustomed to from the NTG5, but it's working. And it's always it's always important to have backup gear. So keep that in mind. Anyway, end of rant. Dan, did you have a mini rant about RX-7? Let's keep the rant thing going.
Yeah, we got just a couple of minutes before the break here. All right, I got something from a client this morning. She's like, "What's wrong with my audio? It sounds hissy and then it fades out. Shh, after words." And I'm like, "Well, it sounds like adaptive noise reduction. Are you using any of that? And why is it hissy?" Because she's using a good microphone and a good interface, and it's like, and she had a booth, a good booth. And I'm like, it just shouldn't sound that way. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you're using something you shouldn't be using. Chances are she was recording too low, normalizing and getting a lot of hiss. And then to get rid of the hiss, she was using RX8 to try and remove it. The fact of the matter is there's a lot of professionals out there saying, oh, man, you got to have this RX8. It's great. It does all this great stuff.
And
None
it's
of
on
it has
sale. It's
on sale
now.
for Valentine's Day last week. The fact of the matter is, it's not designed for voiceover. There's so much stuff that is marketed to voice actors that's got nothing to do with it. RX7 and 8 and these Isotope, nothing against Isotope, great company, but this stuff is designed to clean up the audio on old records and old recordings. Yes,
restoration,
exactly.
And it's a video editor's fixing tool to deal with cruddy audio that they've been sent.
Right, which is a lot. But for voiceover, for a clean, dry audio in your booth with a good microphone, there is absolutely no reason to be cleaning that up and twisting the waves and stretching it and doing all the things that it does. Stop recommending RX8 to people because
that don't need it.
But the worst thing is people, exactly. They're recommending it because they use it for all of their work. Having it doesn't mean it's going to make you sound better, because if you don't know how to use it, it's going to make you sound like my client did this morning. Shh.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Don't
that's
do it.
adaptive noise reduction tools. You need to, those tools can still cause more damage than they are helping you.
Right,
And
exactly.
You have to be really careful. The only thing I find the Isotope RX's editor, the RX editor has tools in it that make audiobook production or mastering automated. That is something that I find helpful, whether you use the mouth declickers and all that stuff or not. There is some helpful tools in there. If you have Adobe Audition, you don't need it.
You don't need it. It's already
I
in
can
there.
do everything in Adobe Audition.
As can I.
But I'd say RX is a good complement to the Twisted Wave or Audacity if you really have nightmare mouth noise or you're doing a lot of mastering.
Right.
So anyway,
but other than that, no. You
Yeah,
got to
it's-
learn how to use it. There's guys teaching classes on it. And remember, somebody who's teaching a class on it has the experience in their studio, in their audio. And you've got to be able to know your own voice and your own sound before you start using something like that. Anyway, enough
Moving
ranting for now. We got lots of
Rant
questions to
mode
get to.
off.
Let's take a break, and we'll get to your questions right after these very important announcements. So don't go away.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching Voiceover Body Shop. It's great.
Now at VoiceOver Essentials, it's the legend reimagined. The MicPort Pro 3.0 brings incredible new features, all in the handheld, self-powered package the MicPort Pro has always been known for. Like a new mic preamp with 65 dB of crystal clear gain, USB-C jacks, and a stunning headphone amplifier with a super convenient gain switch. You've no doubt heard of or recorded with the MicPort Pro. The MicPort Pro breakthrough audio interface connected any studio quality microphone to a micro digital interface. This newest iteration of the legendary USB MicPort Pro turns your phone, tablet, laptop, or desktop into a professional recording studio. Smaller than most microphones, it's feature-rich, easy to use, and travel-friendly. And right now, VoiceOver Essentials is paying the shipping in the continental U.S., and they're including one of their ever-popular VO caps for a limited time. Get it now at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey, that's me. And that means it's time for me to talk about Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect, the original tool to supplant or replace. So ISDN. Back in the day when I started working with Source Elements to actually not working with them as much as just working with their stuff, it was designed as a way to create a backup for ISDN. It was the tool that tons of the busiest voice actors, the ones that we say wear the golden handcuffs, were using because it allowed them to now do ISDN type sessions from anywhere. In fact, many of them were employing things like bridges to connect from Source Connect to ISDN. And that was the norm, right? That was happening everywhere. Well, I'll tell you, ISDN clung on for life until really the pandemic. And that was the death knell for ISDN. And that's the main reason really was because the studios that actually support using it, their doors were closed. The engineers, they're at home in their bedrooms, just like you guys recording you. And so Source Connect obviously took over. I know there's a lot of tools out there that do similar things. There's a lot of innovation in this space, but it's established itself as a standard. It works as a plugin directly into Pro Tools. There's a lot of things. It's got this thing called Cue Manager that allows auto replacing of audio. There's a lot of things that really adds to its value to productions. And that's why you probably want to know about it. So head over to source-elements.com and get a 15-day free trial over there and make sure you're aware of it. Make sure you know how it works and make sure you know that your studio is up to par as well to be able to make use of a tool like this. Your studio's got to sound good. All right, let's get on to the questions right after this break.
Well, hello there. I bet you weren't expecting to hear some big-voiced announcer guy on your new orientation training for Snapchat, were you?
This is Virgin Radio. Well, okay, we're not that innocent.
There's jeans for wearing and there's jeans for working. Dickies, 'cause I ain't here to look pretty.
She's a champion of progressive values, a leader for California, and a voice for America.
It's smart. It's a phone. It's a smartphone. But it's so much more. The files are ready. Don't forget to pick up the eggs. What time is hockey practice? Check out this song.
It's the end of the road for Rick.
It's just you and me, Rick.
When hope is lost.
The i8 from BMW. Who said saving the planet couldn't be stylish?
Hey, it's J. Michael Collins. Bet you think I'm going to try and sell you a demo now, huh? I think they speak for themselves. But I will give you my email. It's jmichael@jmcvoiceover.com. Now, if Dan will stop waxing his mustache for a minute, we'll get back to the show.
This is Ariana Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Lenard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
And we're back. Time for a lightning round. We got a lot of questions tonight. Gotta love
Sweet.
it. Love the questions.
And you know what? I haven't even looked at them yet, so I'm going in cold right now.
Yeah, me too. All right. So let's start off. Our chat room monitor, Jeff Holman, has a question. Does the Zoom feature called Touch Up My Appearance make for lower quality? I'm audio-wise. Does it smooth things out to the point of taking out video detail so the feed of your face looks less clear? I haven't used it.
I mean, I think I never use it. I've tried it. I've just turned it on and turned it off. You'll see the change of the appearance immediately if you turn it on and turn it off. Like it's real time. So all you have to do is turn it on, and what you see is what you get.
And see what happens.
See what happens.
Anyway.
That was weird. Your camera went out of focus.
No, I was doing that deliberately.
Oh. Yeah, no, I Jeff, you don't need it. You're an actor, man.
Yeah,
you got actor face. Tim Branson says, "Hey guys, have you had a chance to check out Audience upgrade to their ID14, which is called the ID14 Mark II? Thoughts?" Yeah, a couple years ago. Did you ever get one in studio to review, Dan?
I
didn't.
Yeah, no, they sent me one, and I wrote a review. Primarily they wanted how does it work for podcasting? So I had to talk about that. The audience stuff is pretty good. They're British audio engineers, so they're
sound quality not a problem.
Not a problem. We found out it had a little bit of. You had to really crank it though for voiceover, unless you're doing
the gain is
It has
it's weird.
Once you get like over 75-80%, that's where all the heavy gain is. But they're great. They're great little units. We know a lot of people that use them. But they do the same thing. They turn the analog audio into the ones and zeros our computers understand. They all do it pretty much the same way. It has a little bit more to do with the preamps that are in them, but they're all pretty good. So
the 14 Mark II and the 4 Mark II has more fancy mixing, monitoring, loopback features in them. So if you need those loopback tools, those will be more useful to you. I got to admit, for me and my clients and just overall, the company, while their products are great designs, the sound quality is awesome. Kind of in the same vein, a little bit of with Apogee there, where stability is an issue. Long time stability is a bit of a problem on some products that I've dealt with. I'm hoping the Mark IIs are a whole new design, ground up, that is more stable and more reliable long term. Still, jury's out. If you're watching the show and you've got an ID14 Mark II or the ID4 Mark II and you use it and love it and you've had no problems, or if you've had problems, let us know in the chat, because I'd love to know. When I recommend gear, I want to make sure it's going to solve as many people's problems as possible.
All righty.
Yeah.
Professor Larry Hudson, that's what I call him, the professor. Don't ask me why. Says, George, I need to utilize 2 mics at one time and have loop back so you can hear, what you can play back stuff. I'm still using the old Mackie 1202 and it's time to upgrade, you think? Are you still hot for the PreSonus Revelator 24? I will call you too. I'm about to buy a new Mini. Should I wait?
Sounds like 2 questions.
It is 2 questions, but he says he'll call you about the first one. But
okay.
Yeah,
well,
you were ranting about the Revelator a few minutes ago. But
I did well, you heard my rant. Okay, but I actually did a video on Vimeo Pro, which I actually don't even think I've linked on my website yet. Shame on me. I did a video walking you through how to set up a Revelator IO24 to do really everything a voiceover could ever need. With Martha Kahn, actually. She was the guinea pig. So I would check that out because that video really goes into a lot of depth. It's a video that's a pay-per-view, like a rental. You can go and rent it for a year and watch it as much as you want. But it really goes into the nuts and bolts of how to set up all of its mix minuses and how the driver works and how the fat channel works, etc. Again, beware of buying prosumer gear. It's not, quality isn't always going to be where it should be. If they had like a pro version of it that was higher quality everything, I would recommend it. That's just not how PreSonus kind of rolls. They're very much price point company, make it cheap if we can. But it's pretty neat. In terms of the new Mac Mini, I don't know. Did I wait? I didn't. I'm happy.
Same here.
Completely happy with my Mac Mini M1 2020. I guess it's a 2020 model. It's fantastic. So no, I don't know if you should wait, because then you might just decide you didn't need the new thing, and you've just deprived yourself of the thing you already needed. So
go get one.
Yeah, just go get one. Get 16 gigs of RAM though.
Yeah,
I
always get the maximum amount
what are
of RAM.
the extra RAM? Yeah,
of course, you can't add chips in the new Macs and stuff. They've hardwired everything.
Everything's hardwired. With a dock, like I mentioned earlier, if you are frugal like me, and you get the 512 storage, I think actually I have the 256 gig storage. No big deal. With one of those docks, you can add in a 1, 2, 3, 4 terabyte super fast drive later and get all that storage back for a lot cheaper than Apple sells it for. So you have options.
J. Horace Black, have you had a chance to review the Universal Audio Volt 1 and the UA Volt 2 yet?
No,
I know
haven't.
people who have them.
I think, who was it that mentioned he likes it?
Peter Bishop mentioned it.
Peter Bishop did? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else uses it on the road. I think it was
Dave
Fennoy.
Fennoy mentioned that he likes it. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes taking it on the road. I guess it's a real simple version of the Arrow and the Apollo Twin.
I don't know how much
you
it's
can't do
related.
plugins with it.
It doesn't have all the crazy bells and whistles and the console, but that's probably a big pro, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like if it has the quality of the converters and the preamps of the Solo, the $500 Apollo Solo, but the simple operation of a Scarlett, that could be compelling. So yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I'm still kind of hooked on the SSL2 as my favorite mid-priced, really nice, well-designed interface. I'm really loving that one, but yeah, one of these days, I'm sure I'll get one across my desk.
Yeah, I wanted to try the SSL2 myself. The Volt, or is it the Bolt? No, it's a Volt.
Yeah, it's a Volt. Yeah,
yeah. The Bolt is a car. But there's
Well,
also a car
Volt
that's
and
a Volt
car.
That's right.
My
And you
friend
can-
had one. I was driving it over the weekend. A Bolt is awesome. I
Yeah,
love
no,
that thing.
electric cars are cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see here. Grace Newton. Question for me. Were we to submit audio to your specimen collection cup for analysis, do you need to know what equipment we're using, our booth setup and dimensions, etc.? For the most part, yeah. I mean, it'll say what microphone are you using, what interface are you using, what computer, what software, and how are you physically set up? Are you in a closet? Are you in a booth? Are you in your living room? Are you living out of your car, which, very popular here in LA. Yeah, I will ask if you give me as much detailed information as possible.
Yep.
The reason that we do the specimen collection cup, the reason we need to hear it is people say, I got this, I got a hissing sound, or I got this, or I got that. Everybody hears differently, and everybody describes things very, very differently. We see this on Facebook all the time. People say, I got a buzz. And of course, we immediately say, can we hear it? Because it's the sound that we hear that tells us what the problem is. And so, yeah, tell me everything you can about your setup so I can make an honest analysis. Sometimes someone will say, well, yeah, I'm using an MXL mic mate. I'm like, well, there's your problem right there. It's,
oh boy.
Yeah. I have one still sitting in a drawer here just in case, bring it around. All right. You plug it in just to prove that, okay, the problem is with your interface.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a tester to make sure the mic actually works.
Right.
It was an early attempt to make an interface, and it was not.
Yeah,
great.
It had not too hissy, very hissy, and incredibly hissy.
Yeah,
It didn't
And
have
a
enough
3-position level switch. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you get the Shelley Aaron Cohen.
Karen Cohen. Hi, guys. Are you aware of any de-esser that can be applied while you are recording, so real time, I guess, as recording, instead of in post? Well, in my experience, you can really use any de-esser plugin real time while you're recording if you have the right DAW. You have to have a multi-track DAW. So it could be done. You could rig it up in Audition. You could rig it up in Reaper, Studio One, Pro Tools, Logic, but you do need those multi-track DAWs to actually do that. So yes and no. It just depends on your setup. But that's a dynamic processor, and they have extremely fast, low latency. How they react to the audio, so they can be used real time, as opposed to, like Dan was talking about earlier, those noise reduction tools that kind of have a delay where they have to analyze the audio as it goes through, then figure out what to do, and then apply a filter. Those cannot be used real time.
Yeah, and of course, some people say I'm really sibilant. I've only seen that a couple of times where somebody is really sibilant. To me, it's always a physical thing. And essentially what I guess sibilance is, although I'm sure Byron Wagner will tell me, no, you're wrong, is that sibilance is an overmodulation of a higher frequency, which is why it sounds the way it does.
It's an automatopoeia.
Yeah, that's it.
Sibilance.
Yes, like bang, bang.
Is that the right use of that word?
Onomatopoeia? Yes, it's the sound. It's the talking, the sound, describing the sound that something has.
Right, like crunch.
Yeah, or bop. It's like Batman. What were we talking about? I lost my train of thought there.
Using processing real time.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of upfront processing.
Yeah, me neither.
Everything is physical. You want to improve your vocal technique. You don't want to overmodulate. You don't want to overemphasize any sibilant types of sounds.
Right.
You know, there's no sibilance there. It's just the sound of an S. But if you push the S too hard, you can get some sibilance. But, you know, some people, just the way their mouths are, yeah, they might be a little bit more sibilant. Can you fix that in a front-end processor? I don't recommend it, but some people do. And if it works for you, who am I to say? I don't know.
Danny Henkla. How you doing, Danny?
Hey, Danny.
Or Danny. I see Danny Henkla. No,
No,
it's Danny Henkla.
Danny.
Sorry, Danny. He mentioned, there was a conversation about docks, because I mentioned one earlier for Thunderbolt. He mentioned one that's not fanned, and he's using himself, and it's made by Kensington, and it is the
memory
model.
people.
Yes, the model SD5700T. It's a Thunderbolt 4 docking station. It can support up to 2 4K displays. It can charge up to 90 watts of power out of its USB to your Mac or Windows. It looks like a beast, and it's got Ethernet. It's got 4 USB-A ports. It's got a memory card reader, 3 Thunderbolt ports. That's a heck of a package. It's pretty awesome. It ain't cheap either, but I'm telling you, these good brand new Thunderbolt technology docks are not cheap. They're going to be $300 usually or more. And this one's around that. So thanks for the recommendation, Denny.
Yeah. Carl Gillette says he uses an inline cough blocks to interrupt his mic output. Love it.
Oh,
obviously
cough
a
blocks.
radio guy.
That sounds like a radio thing for sure. I think a cough button. Isn't that? That's a radio broadcast term for sure.
Yeah.
Cough buttons.
Yeah. Chris, we got those on the Rode Podcaster here or Procaster. I just it right off and like there we go.
Yeah, I mean I can do it on my thing, but I still have to use I have an iPad over here, and I could tap a button, but there's a lot less of a chance that I would hit it at the right time instead of having a push button switch that I can really hit. There's something satisfying about that.
All right, you get the last question from Dave G.
From Dave. Sorry about your gear acquisition syndrome, Lenny. Lee Penny. Lenny. I'm just going to call you
Lee Penny.
Sorry, Lee. Dave G says, my ID14 Mark 1, first generation, crapped out. It took 6 months to get fixed. It was a horrible service center in Los Angeles. Audience was no help. They passed the buck. But my Mark II is awesome. So hopefully that's the case, that the Mark IIs have a better power supply. I think it's power supplies that was plaguing the first generation stuff. Hopefully they solved that problem, and they're awesome. So that's good to know, Dave. Sorry about your bad experience the first time around.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're not giving you gear acquisition syndrome or gas. We try to keep it simple. Now, we talk about some of this stuff, but you'll notice that we don't talk about a really high-end equipment.
No, we don't.
And the fact of the matter is you don't need high-end equipment. One of my favorite expressions is, if you're going to buy a Ferrari, you have to have a nice garage for it. People are like, I want to have a U87. I want to have this great expensive mic. It's not going to change the way you perform copy. And we keep emphasizing this. Everybody's like bragging about, this equipment or that equipment. We had Jody Krangle on last week. Bless her heart, she does it exactly the way we say. She's got a 416 into an interface into her computer. And a good environment. If your environment is right, that's the most important thing. And how you use your microphone, and if you set your levels right. Otherwise, all this gear is,
distracting.
It's for geeks. You can be a geek and a voice actor, but you don't want to be a geek to be a voice actor.
I'm telling you, it's just downright distracting. Gosh, I've been pushing harder and harder. About not wearing headphones. And Dan's like, duh. But man, because I'm just telling people, like, if you are in any way making a judgment call on a sound problem, whether it's a mouth click or a passing car, you are not in the act. You're not in that role at that moment. You have switched roles from acting to engineering. And then that's it. Just stop. Like stop the session, not the session, but just stop the take because you are no longer in it. I really feel strongly you really have to limit your time wearing headphones recording voiceover. It is just too darn distracting. And you can't do both engineering and acting. You can think you're doing it, but you can't do both.
This is what matters, not all the bells and whistles and the flashing lights. And
Yeah,
stuff like
the more gadgetry it's going on that you have to be concerned about working, let alone whether it's been prefab, pre-configured, and tweaked within an inch of its life by me. It doesn't matter. If you have any concern whether it's actually working or not, or what to do if something doesn't work, it's not serving you.
That's right.
Keep it simple.
All righty. Thank you for your questions. We love them. And of course, you can send the questions to us anytime. All you have to do is go into your email program and write to us at theguys@vobs.tv. If you got a question, if you send it there, guaranteed it'll be first in line when we do our next Tech Talk. So anyway.
It'll be waiting for us.
That's right. Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll wrap things up for this week right after these messages.
Before time began, there was VOBS.tv. Watch or else.
Hey, it's David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and we talk a lot in this business about moving forward with our career, getting more information. We often don't talk about simply getting started. It can be one of the most immovable objects in our life, getting out of our own way and just simply taking the first step. And if you're watching this podcast, Voiceover Body Shop, for some tips on how to get started in voiceover, or to change something about your voiceover career, or to increase your knowledge in a certain area, check out VOHeroes.com's Getting Started in Voiceover. If you go to VOHeroes.com/start, you'll get all the information. It's really cheap, and I give you a lot to get started in the business, but you might also learn something if you've been in the voiceover business for a while. VOHeroes.com/start. That's VOHeroes.com/start.
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources, like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Lenard and George Whittam. VOBS.tv.
And we're back. Got a little bit of time to say goodbye so we could talk slower. Anyway, let's see. Where are we here? Next week on this very show, we have another great guest. I got a lot of great people lined up. We've been planning.
Did you see my list, Dan?
I saw your list, and by the way, who was first on that list? It was Jody Krangle.
She was awesome.
She was thrilled to be with us, which
Yeah.
was great. But we got a few others that I've been in touch with, and people want to be on our show. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, and they got great stuff to offer. So make sure that you tune in next week when we present somebody else really good. Let's see here. We need to thank our donors of the week, like Rob Rader,
Patty Gibbons,
Greg Thomas,
Shauna Pennington Baird.
I always let you say her name. Yes, Icon Productions. That's Martha Kahn.
Don Griffith.
Stephen Chandler. Thanks so much.
Sandra Manwiller.
Robert Leadham.
Antland Productions.
Uncle Roy. Shelley Avellino.
Thomas Pinto.
Brian Page.
George A. Whittam, my dad.
Nathan Carlson.
Graham Spicer.
And Lee Penny. Thanks.
Because he wants his name to be mentioned.
He wants it mentioned at least 4 times a show.
Possible.
So. You've got office hours, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Office hours. That's for anybody that's a client of George the Tech. You can access my private clubhouse room. And I'm on there twice a week. Generally, it's 10:30 a.m. Mondays and 4 p.m. Fridays. Just 30 minutes, just answering technical stuff. And it's just an extra service we provide at georgethe.tech. And Dan, you're over there at
homevoiceoverstudio.com. Yes, homevoiceoverstudio.com. Got the the specimen collection cup, got all sorts of stuff. I can't wait for the new website, but we're gonna really upgrade what we're doing. After 15 years, maybe it's time to do that. But then again, a whole lot hasn't changed. Just a little bit of tech. I'm also going to start doing more videos again. It's been a while. So I think it's time to update some of the tips of the week that I did 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff is evergreen, and some of it is ready for updates. So, yeah, there's a lot of content. Right. It was tonight glitch-free.
Yeah, a little bit of echo on my voice. When I talk louder, it's right there.
Yeah, I guess must be getting a lot of bleed from these headphones. That must be what it is.
Yeah, we're all going deaf. What can I say? And of course, headphones.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Okay,
Jeez,
now
Whittam,
tell me
come
now
on
if the echo goes away.
Test 1, 2. Yep, that's what it was. Okay.
I am so embarrassed. Actually, my headphones don't bleed. The problem is they don't bleed at all, and I couldn't hear that my monitor speakers were still on at a low volume.
Oops.
Did the whole show that way.
Doesn't matter. Okay, well.
Okay.
Pay no attention to what just went on. George actually knows what he's doing.
Oh, my gosh.
We need to thank our amazing sponsors. You start this time.
Okay, where were we? Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials.
Voiceover Extra.
Source Elements.
VOHeroes.com.
VoiceActorWebsites.com.
And JMC Demos.
Yes.
Our thanks to Jeff Holman. Great job in the chat room tonight, getting all our questions out to us. Our amazing technical director. I can't wait till we can all get back together in the studio. Maybe one more time remotely, but not the mask mandates coming down in LA. I think we should probably start our next show.
Yeah.
When we do our next show on February 28th, if you want to listen and watch live. Sue Merlino, thanks so much for all the work you do. And Lee Penny for being Lee Penny. I think that's 5 times it got mentioned tonight. Anyway. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for your business. Thank you for trusting us with your home studio audio. But it really comes down to one thing. You can get all this equipment. You can do all this stuff. But if it sounds good,
it is good.
I'm Dan Lenard.
I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voiceover
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech
Talk. Well, now the echo's gone. Okay. Have a great week, everybody.
Can we start over again?
No.
Stick around.